Attention, Canadians, especially seniors, because what's unfolding right now could reshape the way retirement looks in this country for decades to come. For years, many have said that Canada's retirement system, our old age security, the Canada Pension Plan, and the Guaranteed Income Supplement, was stretched thin, outdated, and no longer keeping pace with the crushing reality of everyday expenses. But now, for the first time in recent memory, major updates are being rolled out, changes that could bring relief, or spark new controversy. And the numbers involved are bigger than most expected. To understand how we got here, you need to go back to the frustrations that have been building for years. Seniors across Canada have been sounding the alarm. Rising food prices. Rent that keeps climbing. Prescription drugs that eat up more and more of fixed incomes. A trip to the grocery store that used to be routine now feels like a calculated gamble. A carton of eggs, a bag of apples, a loaf of bread, each item quietly draining wallets that are already stretched to the limit. By 2024, over 6 million Canadians relied on old age security. Another 5 million drew from the CPP, with more than 2 million depending heavily on the GIS. But here's the truth, for many, those monthly payments, often in the range of $650 to $800 for OAS, $700 to $1,200 for CPP depending on contributions, and GIS payments topping up as high as $1,100 for the lowest income seniors, just weren't enough. A senior living alone, paying $1,500 rent, plus utilities, plus basic groceries, was already running a deficit before even filling a prescription or paying for transportation. The math didn't work. And families knew it. Pressure began to mount on Ottawa. Petitions circulated. Advocacy groups held town halls, warning that without intervention, the retirement crisis would only deepen. Economists chimed in, pointing out that as the Canadian population ages, with projections showing nearly 1 in 4 Canadians over 65 by the early 2030s, the system had to be modernized. Delaying action was no longer an option. That's where the new updates come in. Ottawa has quietly, but decisively, signaled that changes to OAS, CPP, and GIS will begin rolling out across 2025 and 2026. And while details are still being debated, the framework that's emerging is both ambitious and controversial. Reports suggest that old age security will see phased increases over the next 18 months, potentially boosting the average monthly OAS check by $85 to $120. For a retiree currently receiving about $700, that could mean closer to $820 or even $850 per month by late 2026. On top of that, the CPP, which is tied to lifetime contributions, may see its maximum benefit inch closer to $1,600 per month, marking one of the largest incremental jumps in recent history. And for the most vulnerable, GIS top-ups could expand by another $75 to $100 per month, potentially lifting thousands above the poverty line. But what does that mean in real life? Let's take the example of Margaret, a 72-year-old widow living in Winnipeg. Right now, she receives about $1,450 per month in combined OAS and CPP, plus $400 from GIS. Her rent is $1,200. Hydro is another $180. Groceries come in at nearly $400. That leaves almost nothing for medication or emergencies. An increase of even $200 a month could mean she no longer has to choose between heat in the winter or food on the table. For Margaret, this isn't just a statistic, it's survival. Or consider Paul and Diane, a retired couple in Halifax. Between CPP and OAS, they bring in about $2,300 combined. Their mortgage is paid off, but their property taxes, groceries, and rising insurance premiums have made life stressful. They've delayed replacing an aging vehicle because every extra dollar counts. For them, an increase of $250 combined each month could mean breathing room. A chance to visit their grandchildren more often, or finally schedule the medical procedures they've been putting off. Still, these updates don't come without critics. Some economists warn that expanding benefits could add billions in new costs annually, potentially straining government finances. Younger Canadians worry whether the system will still exist decades from now, or whether today's fixes simply pass the burden on to future generations. Others argue that the changes don't go far enough, that the modest increases still won't keep pace with inflation, especially as food, rent, and energy costs show no signs of falling. And then there's the political dimension. Ottawa has been under pressure to deliver something substantial ahead of the next federal contest, with critics calling the reforms a calculated move to win votes among the growing senior population. Meanwhile, provincial premiers, particularly in Alberta and Saskatchewan, have voiced concerns that CPP changes could alter the delicate balance of contributions versus payouts, reopening long-standing debates about whether provinces might one day withdraw from the plan altogether. Yet, despite the debate, the human element remains impossible to ignore. Across kitchen tables, in retirement homes, and at community centers, seniors are doing the math. They're weighing the promises against the bills sitting in front of them. They're asking the same question: will it be enough? And while no update can erase the challenges overnight, there is a sense, quiet, cautious, but undeniable, that these measures could restore some dignity to retirement in Canada. That instead of just scraping by, more seniors will finally have the stability to live, not just survive. To buy fresh produce without counting every coin. To keep the heat on without cutting back on meals. To enjoy the retirement they worked for, instead of living in fear of the next bill. The full rollout is expected to span across 2025 into 2026, with the first increases already being penciled into federal budget documents. Advocacy groups are urging seniors to stay informed, to check eligibility, and to ensure they're applying for every benefit available. At the same time, financial advisors are encouraging families to plan ahead, to look at how these changes could impact not only retirees but also adult children who often provide support. So, where does this leave us? On one hand, this could mark a turning point in how Canada treats its aging population. On the other, it could be just the first step in a much longer journey to secure financial security for all. One thing is certain: the conversation around OAS, CPP, and GIS is no longer background noise. It has become a defining issue for millions of Canadians, touching not only seniors but their children, their communities, and the economy at large. For now, seniors across the country are watching closely. Waiting for official numbers. Hoping that the promises translate into real dollars in their bank accounts. And quietly, many are daring to believe that after years of being overlooked, their voices are finally being heard. Because at its core, this story isn't about government programs or budget lines. It's about dignity. It's about whether a lifetime of work in this country guarantees not only survival but the chance to live out retirement with respect, independence, and hope. The changes are coming. The impact will be felt in every corner of Canada. And the next chapter in this story will reveal whether these updates are enough to truly change lives, or just another step in an ongoing struggle.